He tried to ruin her life with a complaint, but fate had something unforgettable planned for both of them. It was a rainy Tuesday evening, and the diner was busier than usual. The clatter of silverware and low hum of conversation filled the cozy space. Among the bustle was Emily, a young waitress working her usual double shift. She moved from table to table with practiced grace and a warm smile, even though her feet ached and her mind was tired. The job wasn't glamorous, but it helped pay for her college classes and kept food on the table for her little brother at home. That night, a sharply dressed man in his mid-40s entered the diner, scanning the room with a cold, disinterested gaze. He sat in the corner booth and didn't acknowledge Emily when she greeted him. He was the type of customer Emily had learned to be extra polite to, the ones who came in angry at the world and just needed someone to blame. "Good evening, sir," she said, placing a menu in front of him. "Can I get you started with something to drink?" He looked up, barely meeting her eyes. "Coffee? Black. And don't make it bitter like last time," he snapped. Emily blinked, unsure if he'd mistaken her for someone else, or just decided to start the conversation with venom. "Of course," she said softly and walked away. She returned with the coffee moments later, careful to place it gently on the table. But the man picked it up, took a sip, and immediately grimaced. "What is this?" he barked, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. "This is disgusting. Can't you do anything right?" "I'm sorry, sir. I'll get you a fresh one." "I don't want another one. I want your manager. Now." Emily's stomach dropped. The manager, Mr. Collins, was strict and unsympathetic. One complaint could mean a suspension, maybe worse. She felt the stares of the other diners burning into her skin as she walked back to the counter, heart racing. Mr. Collins approached the man's table, listened to his complaints, and then turned to Emily. "Take 5 minutes. We'll talk in the back after." Emily nodded and stepped outside into the drizzle, tears threatening to fall. She'd done nothing wrong, just her job, like always. But sometimes that wasn't enough. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching the entire scene unfold. And what happened next would not only shock the rude customer, but change Emily's life forever. Emily stood outside the diner in the soft drizzle, the scent of wet pavement mingling with her nerves. She leaned against the brick wall, trying to calm the trembling in her hands. Losing this job wasn't just about money. It meant jeopardizing her brother's school fees, her night classes, and the fragile stability she'd been clinging to. Inside, the rude customer crossed his arms triumphantly, confident that he'd made an example out of incompetence. He liked the feeling of control, of watching people scramble under pressure. But across the diner, a man seated quietly near the window had seen everything, and didn't look away once. This man, Mr. Harris, was in his late 60s, with graying hair and a calm presence that didn't demand attention, but always noticed what mattered. He had come for a simple dinner, but now his eyes followed Emily as she returned inside, shoulders hunched, trying to remain invisible. She walked over to Mr. Collins, who beckoned her with a stern look. "Emily, we need to talk," he began. But before he could continue, Mr. Harris stood up and approached their conversation. "Excuse me," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear the situation." Mr. Collins straightened. "Sir, I appreciate your concern, but this is a staff matter." "I understand," Mr. Harris replied, "but I believe it's important for you to know that the waitress did absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, she handled herself with incredible patience and professionalism. I was sitting right there. I saw the whole thing." Emily's eyes widened. She hadn't even noticed him watching. Mr. Collins looked surprised, uncertain. "Is that so?" "Yes, and I'm not just any customer," Mr. Harris continued, reaching into his coat and pulling out a business card. I'm the CEO of the company that supplies your diner's baked goods. You may have heard of Harris Fine Foods." The room fell quiet. The rude customer choked on his coffee. Mr. Collins took the card with trembling hands. Yes, of course, sir. I had no idea." Mr. Harris nodded. "And now you do. If this young woman loses her job over one man's ego, I'll pull our contract immediately. I've seen enough to know she's the kind of person every business needs more of, not less." Emily stood frozen, barely able to believe what she was hearing. Mr. Harris turned to her with a kind smile. "You did nothing wrong. In fact, you reminded me of someone I once knew. A young woman who gave me dignity when I had nothing. I never forgot her kindness." The rude customer, now red with embarrassment, stood up and tried to explain. I didn't mean—" Mr. Harris interrupted him. "You meant every word, and maybe now you'll think twice before using power to belittle someone who's simply doing her job." Emily felt a wave of emotion rise in her chest. Not just relief, but something deeper. For the first time, she felt seen. That evening, the diner was quieter than usual, as if everyone present was still digesting the shock of what had unfolded. Emily returned to her duties, heart pounding, but now each step felt a little lighter. Her co-workers looked at her differently, some with admiration, others with apology in their eyes. Mr. Collins, the manager, had changed his tone completely. He now moved around the diner nervously, checking on customers and throwing occasional glances toward Emily, as if trying to make up for the way he had nearly let her go. But for Emily, none of that mattered. What stayed with her was the unexpected kindness of a man she hadn't even known was watching. Later that night, as the last customers left and the lights dimmed, Mr. Harris returned to the counter where Emily was finishing up receipts. "I hope I didn't cause you more trouble," he said gently. Emily shook her head. "No, sir. You saved me from losing my job. I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," he replied. "With your patience, with your dignity. I've been to hundreds of diners in my life. Rarely have I seen someone handle a situation like that so gracefully." She smiled, though her eyes were misty. "I guess I've had practice." "I imagine you have." He paused, then slid a small envelope across the counter. "This isn't charity. It's an invitation. I run a training program for young people who want to move up in the hospitality industry. We help with tuition, place students in top hotels, and mentor them into leadership roles." Emily blinked. "Are you serious?" "Completely," he said. "If you're interested, come by the address on the card. We could use someone with your resilience." Her breath caught. For years, she had dreamed of doing something more. Something bigger than just surviving day to day. And now, a door had opened. Just then, the rude customer walked past on his way out. He avoided eye contact, but paused awkwardly near the door. Mr. Harris looked up at him. "You still here?" The man cleared his throat. "I wanted to say sorry. To her." Emily looked at him, expression unreadable. "I was having a bad day. That's no excuse," he mumbled. "You're right, it's not," she replied calmly. "But I hope tomorrow is better." The man nodded and slipped out the door, shoulders lower than when he'd come in. Mr. Harris turned back to her. "You didn't just handle him well. You showed grace even in response to cruelty. That's rare." She tucked the envelope into her apron, a quiet smile on her face. Maybe this was the day things started to change. He nodded. Maybe it was. The following week was a whirlwind of change for Emily. She stood outside a modern glass building in the heart of the city, nervous but determined. The name of the foundation Mr. Harris had told her about was etched in silver on the door. Inside, she found herself surrounded by people who shared dreams like hers. Dreams of rising above, of becoming something more than what life had boxed them into. Emily was welcomed warmly. Mr. Harris had already spoken about her. "She's got fire," he'd told the program director. "And compassion. That's the kind of leader we need more of in this world." Each day brought new lessons, not just about hospitality or customer service, but about confidence, leadership, and vision. Emily absorbed it all. She asked questions. She stayed late. She helped others who were struggling. Her years of struggle had shaped her into someone strong, focused, and deeply empathetic. Months passed, and Emily graduated top of her class. At the ceremony, Mr. Harris handed her a certificate and whispered, "I knew you'd do more than just survive." But that was only the beginning. Mr. Harris offered her a management role at one of his luxury hotels. Emily took the position with pride. Now she wore a sleek uniform, led a team of staff with fairness and kindness, and remembered every name in her building. And she never forgot where she came from. Every month, she'd return to the old diner. This time, dressed in business attire. She didn't go to brag or to gloat. She'd sit at the same counter, order a slice of pie, and leave a generous tip with a note for the new waitstaff. "Your story isn't finished. Keep going." One afternoon, the same rude customer from that fateful day walked into her hotel, unknowing, entitled, and annoyed about a room mix-up. When he demanded to speak to the manager, Emily stepped forward, composed and smiling. "Good evening, sir. I believe we've met before." He blinked, confused. Then realization hit him. His face paled. Emily didn't shame him. She simply ensured his stay was handled with care. Professional, but firm. Afterward, he left quietly, humbled in a way he hadn't been before. Years later, when asked in an interview what changed her life, Emily never said luck or timing. She said, "It was the day someone believed in me when I had no power, and the day I realized dignity is louder than anger." And in every training program she led afterward, she taught her students the same lesson. It's not just about serving others. It's about knowing your worth, even when the world forgets it.